Hello, everyone. I'm the okayest bassist, and this is the BASSics, Volume 21. This is a series that I do live streams for all sorts of different ideas, topics. Sometimes we have extra people in here for instructions. Sometimes people are here for a lesson. All in all, this is a series geared typically towards a new player to give them advice or information on things that they might not already know, or something they might know a little bit about and wanted to know a little bit more. So that's what this is. While checking, I do not seem to have anyone who's going to be assisting today. So I'm going to pull a random topic out of my head, as it were. Not much left in my head, or on it at least. But I'm going to pull random topic, and we are going to discuss that. When I don't have a person on, sometimes it goes the full hour, sometimes it doesn't. Just kind of depends on how things go. So the topic for today: customization on instruments. Is it bad? Is it good? Is there such thing? If it is okay, is there too much? Short answer: it's fine. When it comes to customizing an instrument, it's all on personal preference. It's what you like. It's what you think is best for you and that instrument in particular. Of the instruments here on the wall, none of them. I mean, Ein's here was custom built, but hasn't been customized. If I swing this one here is a Gear for Music. I think it's a 972 fan Fred is what it's called. That instrument I got from friend Johnny Dibble. Check out his channel. He's awesome. I got it from him, and its action was really messed up. So when I looked, the neck was slightly inward bent, causing more of a bow. So instead of being flat, it was slightly V'd. So I ended up having to pull the strings, pull the neck, and then I put a shim. I actually used a couple of extra wide guitar picks right at the base of the neck, and that ended up leveling it out enough that the action adjustment was enough to get it to where I wanted it to be. So that's one example. You can, a customization can be something needed. It can be something as simple as, hey, something went wrong when it was made and we need to make that change. For example, the opposite is basically what happened with this EHB, my customized 1505. I didn't like the neck. It had the same kind of neck as this one, the dark Wenge and Panga Panga. So I ended up swapping it with the neck from a 1005 SMS instead of the 1505 SMS. So that gave me the roasted maple neck that you see here. I think that looks much better. I like that neck better than the Wenge and Panga Panga. So that was an improvement to me, though per what the data sheets would say, it was a downgrade of woods. They're not as exotic of woods, but to me it looks better that way. So that's what I did. So, I mean, that's a simple customization in both of those cases. In the case of the Gear for Music, the one right here, this one, the one I just showed you, that was like a need. The action was way too high. Wasn't comfortable to play, so that was more of a repair than like a customization, whereas the EHB was a customization because that was something I chose to change, and that was as simple as pulling the bolts, swapping the neck, bolting it back up. It's nothing major. I have done pickup swaps. Anytime I do a pickup swap, I do EMGs just because I don't want to deal with soldering. And I like their solderless system. I know others have that, and I've considered doing it. It is a thought process for one of the projects that I do plan to have in the future. For example, on the Gear for Music, I have considered swapping its pickups out to EMG HZ40 or 45s. I don't remember which one fits. But I have a set of pickups I could swap. But since it has a passive mode, I don't see a reason to swap out pickups since that one sounds good. But that is a thing. Pickup swaps, plenty of people do them. Low End Lobster has multiple episodes and different series of basically the same instrument with different pickups and what changes those can do. Those are all a matter of what works best for you, what you're hoping for as far as your sound, if it's a thing for aesthetics or what have you. Um, so there's a lot of different things. There are other things too. I have my Stilet Uh-Oh that I did the video on from a stiletto, Schecter stiletto, where I just on a whim decided I was going to go ahead and I used some headless tuners. I chopped the headstock off, put string retainers where the headstock used to be, polished everything off so that there weren't sharp edges, and then made it headless. You could definitely do that if that's a thing you want to do. I did it terribly, but it's something anybody could do if they wanted. I mean, not anybody, obviously. A baby couldn't do it, but a normal human sized person could do that. So it's all a matter of what it is you're wanting out of that customization. That's going to be the big thing that's going to say, is it within your wheelhouse for one? Is it something you're comfortable doing? If it is something that you're wanting to do it, but you don't know how, there are plenty of videos. YouTube's full of videos for instruction on how to do stuff you don't know how to do. But if it's something more of, I understand what needs done, but I don't think I can, that's when you can talk to phone in a friend. That's when you can talk to the thought process of going to a luthier. Though luthiers and techs are exceedingly expensive, especially if it's something simple. If you were to swap out for a set of EMG pickups, as long as you can read a simple wiring diagram of the white black wire goes here, the big wire set goes here, these plug into this. If you can handle that, you could do a pickup swap. It won't cost you anything but buying the pickups. If, on the other hand, you have a luthier do it, I would be very surprised if a luthier would do it for less than $50. So to some, that's worth it, and I think that's probably on the cheap side for a luthier to do that for you. So keep that in mind. But you have other things that people want to do to instruments. They want to change out a preamp. Again, if you're comfortable soldering and knowing how to do wiring, then perfectly fine. Change out your preamp, change out your pickups, whatever it is you want to do. Some people will build their own instrument completely. That's the ultimate customization because you built everything out of scraps and pieces and chunks of wood. But as far as getting an instrument and then making that instrument different, there are all sorts of ways to do it. Some people, like I absolutely hate the single bridge pieces, like the stiletto had on it. It had single bridge pieces that you could adjust the string height, but the intonation you had to move manually. I do not like that. I want there to be some sort of mechanical adjustable feature like a screw that I can use, or a bolt that can be adjusted so that I know exactly how much I've adjusted it, rather than I think I moved that an eighth of an inch. Okay, that wasn't enough, so now I think I've moved it a total of a quarter of an inch. That was a little bit too much, so now I've got to. I don't like that. Especially because with those systems, unless you're using something like a screwdriver and then tapping against it with a hammer or something, you're typically needing to detune the string each time you do it. So that's an additional problem. I mean, there are plenty of other customizations. There's painting. Some people, okay, I got an instrument, but I don't like the way it looks. I had an EHB. It was the 1505 series, but it was the one that looked like I don't remember the finish, but it's like an ocean beach. It has blues and then fades to greens and then fades to the natural burl poplar top. When I bought it, it was covered in like chocolate colored paint because the joint right where between the pickup and the neck, where a lot of people cause some wear while slapping, that had some wear because of slap. And the person decided, oh, that doesn't look good. I don't like that. So they decided to paint the entire thing. Some mineral spirits and a rag and about an hour's worth of work pulled all that paint right off, and it looked way better the original finish. But some people will do that. Some people will sand an entire instrument down and then coat it in whatever color or finish they want. I mean, I'm all for customization on cheap instruments. I had my AliExpress boat anchor that was super heavy. I hated the tuning machines that came on it as it was headless. I hated the tuning bridges, so I swapped them out for a set of Ibanez EHBs that I had, and it played nicely. It's just super heavy, so it's at the music shop waiting to be sold now. It was just something that was not what I wanted. I want instruments for ergonomics more than I care about how cool they look. So that was what it was. For that instrument, if I had the tools and skills and confidence, I had considered pulling everything off of it, slicing it down the middle, body wise, this way, and then carving out some chambering to lighten the instrument. That would have helped it significantly. And then I would have had to glue it back together and then done something along the edge. I don't have the time, patience, money, or skill for any of that. So it didn't happen. But that's something that you could do. I mean, if Low End Lobster's Sub Ray 4 series is anything to tell any of us, it's you can take something inexpensive, put some money into it, and make it really cool, especially for what you want. And the same thing goes for about anything. I mean, you could pick up an inexpensive bass that you like the shape of, and like the stiletto, you could make it headless if that's a thing you want. If you see a really good deal on reverb on an instrument that it looks cool, you've played one, you really like it, but maybe it has neck dive. I've seen plenty of people who've done it to Thunderbirds because Thunderbirds are bad for neck dive. They get since they have the neck through body with the thicker block in the center, you can take that horrible three-piece bridge off of it. You can flatten that down. You can put some headless tuning bridges on the bottom of it, and then you chop the headstock off with leaving enough for string retainers, and now you have a more ergonomic Thunderbird. I in the early video, if you go back and watch it, I have the design I made of a 3D printed, basically a Stratocaster upper horn that goes all the way down the Thunderbird. I did that so that my Thunderbird wouldn't neck dive. And then I found out you could get much better instruments that look cooler and are much more ergonomic and don't have neck dive anyway. So that is definitely an option too. I mean, if I could find a super cheap Thunderbird that didn't mean anything to me, that I like, if I could find a cheap Thunderbird Pro 4 or whatever they're called, the ones that normally retail in the $400 range, if I could find one of those for like 150, $200 maybe, I'd be willing to do that modification to it. I am very sure, like 99.9% sure, that Thunderbird truss rod adjustments are at the head. So if that's the case, then that would mean you'd have to leave a little bit more because you want to be able to have enough to have that access. But you could remove the plate. You don't need the plate on there. I mean, it'll keep dust and grime out of it. But if it's a mod project of a couple $100 instrument, you're not really that worried about longevity probably. It would be a fun project to do, but I haven't looked, nor do I plan to look for a Thunderbird to do that project. Maybe next year. I have some plans in mind for what next year, because I'm almost full up on videos for this year already. So depending on what next year brings, it might end up being a project that I look to do. But that'll be dependent on some other stuff that's supposed to be coming. But I have to wait until I hit I might until I hit about 150, maybe 200 subscribers if that happens, and then I'll be able to start making some more plans. But anyway, on modifications of basses, you can do whatever you want. It's your instrument. Do I recommend modifications? I recommend modifications that make the bass, I can't say better because that's of suspect and that's of everyone's opinion. What I will say is I am for modifications that make the owner happier. Because a stiletto that's already beaten up and been very poorly maintained, to chop the headstock off of it and just as an experiment, can I do this and make it work? That was worth it to me. I think I paid like $200 total for everything that had with it. So that was an interesting project, a challenge to myself, and I learned quite a bit from doing it. I didn't keep the instrument, so it's not that it was worth it for the instrument. It was my learning experience, and then I think I sold it to the music shop for $100. So I lost money, but I gained knowledge, so I paid for knowledge, which is fine. Um, on modifications, again, if you have a perfectly good instrument, in my case back here, I have two instruments. One of them is a Sterling Ray 2. That one I pulled the original pickup cover, or not the pickup cover, the pick guard. It's in this box over here, not the big fragile box, the other box behind it. You can actually see the outline of the little teardrop thing right there. I pulled the original pick guard and had my wife use her 3D printer, and I embedded a thumb rest onto the same size pick guard and then bolted that on. The Ray 2 was like a greenish blue color, and then she used like a translucent blue for the pick guard. And then I swapped the pickup from the original to an EMG HZMM. Their Hertz series is their passive series, and then the MM for Music Man, and had to do just a little bit of routing to accommodate the slightly bigger pickup. That was cool. It gave a slightly different sound that I liked better. That instrument is actually part of some of the future plans, so stay tuned. Um, but I mean, that's a modification of undoing some screws to put a new pick guard. And then again, it was an EMG passive series. So all I had to do was snip the wires off the pickup, put in the new pickup with the solderless wire connections, and it was done. Again, that gave me a sound I like a little better. I like the sound of the EMGs better than what the original pickup I had was really high output, like to the point where if I plugged it into my uh, Focusrite and if I had the volume all the way up, it was redlining. It was going way out and cut. So I had to turn the volume down just to be able to play it without getting a whole bunch of nasty buzz feedback kind of thing. Um, the EMG doesn't have that problem, so that was a definite plus. But I mean, again, pickup swaps, preamp swaps. I've done tuner upgrades. On a few instruments, I've swapped them out to like Hipshot Ultralights whenever I've wanted them to be a little lighter or, again, less neck heavy. I have considered on this Ibanez BTB that has the 37 to 34 multi-scale. I've considered getting a set of the ultralights for that, but that's about $120 if you get the licensed, not the USA. It would be nice, but as long it has the small closed gear, like 3/8 inch closed gear tuners, and they work fine, so I don't see a reason to swap it out. Yeah, it might save a few ounces. I want to say that at something I'd heard before was like it could be up to half a pound, which on that long of a neck is definitely going to be more noticed. But on that same note, if I'm playing something that's a 37-inch scale, I'm kind of expecting it to not have the best ergonomics. So that is what it is. But I mean, you can do your tuner swaps, your pickup swaps, your preamp swaps, those kind of things. To me, refinishing an instrument as just a purely cosmetic choice isn't anything I've ever wanted to do. Like, I've never gotten an instrument and thought, oh, hey, that needs to be a different color, so I'm going to sand it and stain it. Or that needs to be a different color, I'm going to sand it or in some way get it prepped for being able to put paint. I did build my own bass a couple times, and in those cases, one of them was the Zebrano wood looking Reverse Explorer. That one I got because I didn't have to do anything to finish it. It was just a wood that was fine to leave alone. And I did once build an Explorer shaped P bass. Um, that one came as wood and it was gouged, it was roughed up and scuffed and scratched, so I did sand it and paint it, but that was because it was a complete project. It wasn't like I bought a bass to make the modifications. But again, as far as are they good, are they bad, they're all fine. You're building your bass to do a thing that you want it to do, which is look the way you want. If it's comfortable to you to play it and you just want it to look the way you want, then fine, go for it. The big hazards on doing a modification: what if you mess up? Well, if you mess up, hopefully there's a way to undo it. If you're drilling holes in a bass, if you're cutting pieces of it off, I mean, yes, basically almost anything can be repaired, but is the return on investment or the cost to undo what you've done going to be worth it? If you cut the headstock off a bass to make it headless, probably not going to be an easy recovery from that to try and get wood attached to be able to put tuners back that way. If you cut a chunk out of the body so that you can put recession for the tuning bridges, because you'll notice like on the EHBs, all of the tuners sit probably a half inch down inside. On the Bowden, they sit a little higher. On this one here, they actually sit right on top of the body, so that works. This is a Court Space 5, by the way. I think this video's not, the video on this thing's not until like September, October, so spoilers. But depending on what it is that you do, you might be able to undo it. If it's a pickup swap and you don't like the pickup, you can go back to your old pickup. If the preamp isn't what you're hoping for, you can go back to an old preamp. If you change out the tuners and the tuners aren't what you're hoping for, I changed out the tuners on a Fender Meteora to Hipshot Ultralights, and of course it was a different screw pattern because the Ultralights have a single screw, whereas the Meteora had the Fender Classic with the 4-screw pattern. Obviously, the aesthetics on the back of the headstock, seeing all the 4 holes all the way around each tuning machine, isn't the aesthetic you want. So if someone ended up wanting to cover that up so that you could never tell the tuners had been swapped, that's fine. You could change the tuning heads back to the classics and you'd be fine. I mean, I've done quite a few different things, but I mean, again, I've never done anything aesthetic beyond a neck swap. But again, that was just unbolt and rebolt. It wasn't anything intensive. The hazard I would give is if you do something to make it your own, keep in mind that making it your own means that it's not universally everyone else's like it might have been in its original state. Companies probably do not call you specifically to ask you exactly how they should make their mass-produced instrument. If they do, please message me, because I would love to give you some information to give those companies on how to make headless multi-scale basses. That'd be great. I love headless multi-scales. Single cuts are cool. Like, you could do that too. You could just have someone start mass-producing stuff like Eins, and like if Ibanez would just do Eins's shape with this setup, that'd be really cool. Like, they'd be expensive, but whatever. The long and short, just remember, I think I said it in the BTB 865SC, the Ibanez black and natural finish, huge single cut. I really liked that bass, but it did not have a passive mode, is why I got rid of it. Everything else on the bass was great. It was heavy, but Everything else on the base was great, but it didn't have passive, and I couldn't find an easy way to like take the mid frequency switch and just swap it out for a passive switch. The only way I could easily determine to do it myself would have been to pull the pickups and put in EMGs. And then I would have had a volume, tone, and then like 3 or 4 knobs that did nothing and a switch that did nothing. So I didn't like the idea of doing that, because if I did that, if you have an instrument, just to make the math nice, if you have an instrument that retails for $1,000 and you buy it, you're probably selling it for $700 used. Depends on the market. If it's something that the market's saturated and everybody's selling one, you might get 6. If it's something that not a lot of people are selling it, you might be as lucky to get 8. If it's something like a Sire Z3, Z5, where they're still, I think, on back orders for some people, you might be able to get closer to the 90%, 95% of the retail price. But on the whole, 70-80% of the new price is what it expects to sell for. So if I'm buying an instrument that has $1,000 tag to buy it brand new, and then I do a pickup swap that the pickups cost me $200 and the wiring kit another $80, and then I take the time to swap those around and I go to sell that instrument, I now have like $1,200-$1,300 in this instrument, and at best I'm still only going to get $700-$800. A lot of people don't care if you've done a pickup swap, but in that instrument's case, the BTB, it went from an active system that was very versatile to, if it just went to a passive system, there are a lot of people that would be like, yeah, no, I'm not buying that because I can buy the other used one that's about the same price. So you might have $1,000 instrument that could command $750-$800, but now you've put another $300 into it, and now it's only worth $700. So you've taken yourself $300 more invested and lost yourself the potential of $100, because most people don't seem to care. I mean, if they see the instrument they want, they're like, I'm getting it cheap. If I want to change it, I'll change it. And you could, of course, say, hey, I have the original pickups and preamp, I'm including that. Then you probably can still get the original, because now they have options. They could take the pickups and sell them, whatever. But long and short, that's why I didn't keep the instrument, and it wasn't worth it to me to keep the instrument if it couldn't do what I wanted, which was go into a passive mode. And it also wasn't worth it to me to invest more money into that instrument when doing so was going to risk its resale value, and its weight prohibited it from being a bass that I was going to use a lot. I mean, as you can see, I've been told on videos I have a type. That's very true. I like ergonomics. I like basses that have ergonomics. I have the Bowden, which by far is one of the most ergonomic things I have ever played. I have EHBs because they're ergonomic. I like headlesses because I like everything being in one system where I can tune it and adjust everything, so that's cool. The headless just goes because it's ergonomic. Ergonomic and headless are a thing with each other because headlessness allows for more ergonomics. It allows for better weight distribution. But I do have non-headless basses too. And that's because, well, except this one, this Frank Bello, that one's for sale. It's on Reverb. You can go find it. Okay, it's bassist, Reverb. It's right here. I'm selling it cheap. I got it on a good deal, and then there were a couple problems with it that I had to fix. So shout out to Carol, extension 2450 at Musician's Friend. She helped me get a little bit of a partial refund so that I could take care of those problems. It had a couple of nicks and scratches, even though it was supposed to be new. She gave me a little bit back, so that way it was a little closer to, what value it would have lost. So I've got it for sale. I found out it's only active. Didn't read the description. Shame on me. I saw it had EMGs, so my brain decided, oh, hey, it's got to have a push-pull or something. I mean, it only has 2 knobs, so 2? Yeah, only has 2 knobs. So I thought for sure, one of them's a push-pull to go into passive. Turns out not. Either that or I'm dumb and I can't figure out how to work a push-pull. Don't know which one it is, but probably the second one. So it's there. It's for sale. You want it? Send me an offer. accept most offers if they're reasonable. I'll accept any reasonable offer, but I accept most offers because most offers are reasonable. But that one's for sale. Outside of that, the rest of these instruments are like they're things that I like. I wanted a Dingwall scale bass, and I didn't have Dingwall money, so I got the BTB on sale. Shout out to Tim at Sweetwater for that one. The 505, I already have a video on one. It had its thing. There's a new video going to be out. I don't know. It's like July, August, somewhere in there, about this one. And then a Sire Z3. I don't think that video came out yet, but if it did, cool. If it didn't, it's coming. There's videos for everything up here on the wall, or there's at least one made for it if it's not out yet. But again, I like ergonomics, so a modification towards ergonomics would be good. That Ibanez BTB 865SC was heavy. I didn't care for the colorings on it. It had a beautiful red back to it, but then the front being black and natural, I just thought was weirdly off-putting. And then again, it didn't have passive, so it already had the. I didn't care for the aesthetics through and through. Its ergonomics weren't great because it was a headed instrument and it was heavy. And then it didn't do what I wanted for sound as far as being able to go into a passive mode. So at that point, it was kind of the three strikes you're out. Yeah, I could do modifications to this, but I'm not going to sand down and restain or repaint an instrument that is in perfectly good condition. To me, the amount of value I would lose on its resale versus the amount that I would gain on my personal side was not worth it. Now, if I ever came across a BTB 865SC for a very cheap price, to the point where swapping out the pickups for EMGs would be feasible, I would very heavily consider that. Although I do have one or two basses that are supposed to be coming that are that same single cut non-multi-scale setup that have passive modes already. So at that point, it would be the who's replacing what. I do definitely have a type when it comes to instruments. Again, there are 4 EHBs over there. However, they are different. This one is a short multi-scale. This one is a, I guess, medium multi-scale, so 32 to 30. This one, I believe these are 35 to 33. This one here is fretless, and that one is a special thing that y'all will find out about middle end of July. So each of them is different. Now, granted, this one and this one are both the SMS, the short multi-scales, 32 to 30, but they're different. The bodies are different. The pickups in them are different. And again, one of them's a project thing. So everything else up there is completely different from each other. The Bowden is the most ergonomic thing here. Eins is a one-off custom. I mean, granted, it could be more of them could be made, but it's my design, so it is what it is. This is a uke bass that I used to like, but I don't like it anymore, so I'll probably be getting rid of it. Already talked about the EHBs. This Gear for Music came from Johnny Dibble, so that's a friend bass, so that's not going anywhere. It's part of my Bassfinity gauntlet of bass tubers, as Bully puts it. Already said I wanted something with a Dingwall scale, so I got this BTB. The 505E has an awesome color, and it's just a good all-around general 5-string. Like, if the aesthetics on it aren't going to put somebody off, then it's a great instrument that, like, if someone's like, hey, I'm learning to play bass, would you loan me one? This is probably one I would loan them. Otherwise, I'd loan them the Z3. I do have another Sire that's supposed to come. I don't mind this one. It's pretty nice. But I have another Sire on the way, and I'm only going to keep one. So whether it's this one or whether the other one gets sent back, I don't know yet. We will see. And again, the Frank Bello, it's for sale. This guy is headless, so, you know, he's probably going to stay around for a while. The Jackson Minion ultra short scale is in my travel case, as well as the Ray 2, because those two are part of a special thing that I'm going to do later. when I hit about 150, 200 subscribers, I plan to do a pretty big change to the channel announcement kind of thing. So if you know somebody who wants to have an extra subscription on their YouTube channel to get weird content like I do, there you go. Tell them to, because when I get to those, I'm going to have cool stuff come. Until then, it's just going to be the same okay stuff. And it'll still be okay, just slightly cooler options for okay in the future. But modifying the instruments, again, I have come to the point where I purchase instruments that I like the way they are, not purchasing instruments that I want to change. However, I do plan to change that again for next year. I'm wanting to do more playing videos of me actually playing, as well as more like not just basses that interest me, but basses that are out there that I can also look to try and do stuff to. I have heavily considered and might very well start it next year. I want to do something like an off with their head or something where I get a bunch of cheap basses, find some cheap but good headless tuning systems, and then try and make a whole bunch of basses headless just to see how that works, what their ergonomics feel like before and after. So, spoiler alert, that's a series I plan to do starting next year. Probably not this year. But that's neither here nor there. Customization, I'm all for it as long as it's making you happy. Just like I said about finances, don't put yourself in a financial strait just to have stuff for your hobby. Don't jeopardize your livelihood for the enjoyment of the moment. Don't spend the money you don't have, basically. But as far as an instrument goes, if you see a $1,200 Fender American Standard or whatever they are, I don't know what models Fender have that cost what, but you see a $1,200 Fender, $1,200 you want a Dingwall esque thing, so you spend the like 1,000 to 1,200 depending on when it's on sale to get an Ibanez BTB. I think that's the 605 MS. So you buy one of those, but you're not happy with the color. You want it to be headless, and you buy it, you chop the headstock down, you put the string retainers, you go to the bottom, you take everything out, you sand the whole body down because you want it to be freaking, I don't know, you want it to be pink zebra stripes, and you can do that kind of paint job. Cool for you, because I sure couldn't. You go through and you do all that, you mill out the body and you make it headless, and you now have a headless a headless BTB thing with a Dingwall scale, and it is the exact color and everything you want. Awesome for you. When you go to sell that, the market might not be very open for all the people who I would probably want to buy it. Not lying at all. I would be interested. If you do that, tell me if you want to get rid of it, or if you just want to send it to me and I'll try it, and I promise to send it back. But you want to go through and you want to do stuff like that, go for it. Just keep in mind all the money you're putting into that, the whatever, $1,200 to buy the instrument, the probably $50 to $100 for the hardware you're going to do. If you already have the stuff to sand the instrument and refinish it, then that's part of whatever you already have. But if you're looking at total $1,200 to $1,600 to do all of these modifications, and then you go to sell that instrument, be prepared that you might only be able to get $600 to $800 out of it. Again, if it's a labor of love, then who cares? You're getting what you want out of it. Just be aware that those changes may not be financially smart. But if it's what you want and you think you're going to keep the thing forever, then by golly, go ahead. You're going to keep it. Who cares? If you can buy an off-the-shelf instrument and make it a one-off that is going to be your life base, you have it forever, do it. Like, do what's going to make you happy. Just don't do it thinking, well, if I don't like it, I'll just get rid of it, because the financial impact that you're going to have of that is going to be more than just buying a bass and trying it and having to sell that, because again, it's not customized for you, it's still mass produced for the masses. So that's pretty much it. I haven't had anyone in the chat. I haven't had anyone offer to jump in and help talk about stuff with me. So I'm going to go ahead and end it a little early. It's been, I had the 5 minute countdown, so it's been almost 40 minutes. So, as always, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day.